Hello and welcome to the Dragoncast, everybody. I'm Gio. I'm one of the staff members, and I'm here with.
Malachi.
And Toshiro.
And it is the end of the main season. It just wrapped up. I can't tell you who's in or who's out, but good job to everyone who made it. We're kind of trying to see into the future unsuccessfully here. And next week we are going to have the LVP before. At least valuable player tournament before the postseason comes in full swing and teams try to fight for that all-important Tenkaichi Bowl victory. With that all said, someone want to hop into a few little mentions?
Yeah. So just to be clear, like we're recording this right after week 14 and before week 15. So like as of right now, we've still got two Kais in contention. And it is on the one hand heartwarming to see so many teams giving it their all the way through to the last week. Hopefully it works out well for everybody who's able to fight, keep pressing on and fighting hard. On the other, it is nerve-wracking. Like
Yeah.
this has been probably the most volatile season we have had.
Northside is kind of in shambles at this point, and a bunch of chaos, which I love. So,
I mean, it's great to see chaos. Like North Kai Curse has always been a thing because everybody goes all out against North Kai, and so like they're just in rough position, and yeah, oh my goodness, it's a fight, and I said this season has just been weirdly volatile. You know,
mainly
yeah.
just what East and West are at least confirmed. So, just keep an eye out now on what in South for the most part.
Well, I mean, when you guys are listening to this, you'll know who's in. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the time you guys listen to this, you guys will probably be digesting the final results, getting ready for the LVP. Figuring out who the clown of your team is, and ready to send them to clown school. But on that note, the other thing that several teams are probably very excited to start looking at. There was probably by this point an announcement video that has gone up, or announcement post that has gone up in the Discord. G, do you want to talk about it, or should I?
yeah, sure. One of the new things that would have been brought up is that we are looking into Patara cost changes. And there may be some new costumes for characters coming in to the 2023 season, which you guys will probably have access to when the off season comes around, and that also gets distributed to our lowly testers.
Specifically with after the bowl, if I recall, correct?
Yeah, the new ISO will be distributed after the bowl, and that will have all of our finalized changes that are still being tested and things like that. But the Patara cost stuff is something that you guys, our active supporters and coaches, can start messing around with now in their planning and testing. Just because during our testing, we are not as stringent on the 7-point builds thing, and with the use of cheats, pretty much everybody can have like however many points on their build as they want. So we went ahead and just announced these changes that are locked in for Patara cost changes. And we also announced some Pataras that are now dead. They have they are no longer active. They have joined the Choir Invisible. They are ex-Pataras. And the reasons for that will become clear in the future, but a lot of these Pataras are we they just have not seen a lot of use in the league, or
They suck. They are
Yeah.
bad. No one uses them. No one should use them, and you should feel bad for liking them. Okay, that's the gist of it.
yeah, pretty much. Like the only one of the 7 that so I'll just read them off real quick just so everybody knows what we're talking about. Warrior's Will, Evil Pride, Guard Master, Miracle Master, Rush Blast 1, Dragon Dash Mastery, and Active Heart are now dead.
And by that we mean for 2023.
Yes. So, for the teams who are still in 2022, they're still fighting. If you want to use them, go for it. I don't know why you would want to use them, especially like Dragon Dash Mastery. That's a 4-point Vitara. I mean, your Z dashing won't cost anything, but it's 4 points of your build. But yeah, they're gone. We just wanted to go ahead, and since these changes are confirmed, go ahead and let people talk about them, and start appropriately planning in the off season, especially because we have other changes. Another thing that will have been brought up, in addition to a sampling of the costumes and such that you guys seen, is as some of our active supporters may know, early in the main season, the modding community we work with released a tool that lets us patch a different part of the game, and it allowed us to patch in the AI difficulty directly into the game itself. And so with that, we won't need to use cheats anymore. Which will be a very nice thing for our testers, especially those who might jump between like main season testing and TOP testing. Everything is on the ISO now. There's no fiddling about with cheats, nothing like that.
Yeah, a bit more of a quality of life change for the people who run stuff in the back.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is just a sampling of stuff to come. As I said, we're still working on stuff. I think the big things we've got left to discuss are some things that I think everybody will be very excited to hear. I think I'll leave it at that unless someone else wants to expand on that.
I'm just here. I don't know.
But yeah, so yeah, on that note, like, this is the time. If you've got suggestions for things like Master List, the Boost Store, new maps you want to see, anything like that, now is the time. Come join the Discord, put it in our suggestion survey. That is where we, if you put it in there, it will get looked at by staff and we will discuss it. Now is the time to make sure those things get mentioned, because we're actively talking about it. We're getting ready to have everything for 2023 finalized. It's exciting. I've done hundreds of tests and I'm ready to be done.
We've all kind of joined you in that testing dungeon, but no, you have definitely done the most.
Mal definitely lives there.
Mal lives there, and I feel like part of it is of his own volition. So, like, yeah.
Yeah, it's comfortable at times. Just step over the bed. Leave the fridge alone. But yes, I know. I fully enjoy doing all the work doing a lot of the work to get new stuff ready for the league, to make it more interesting and more to bring us the new stuff that helps keep the league fresh. It's a lot of work, but it's fun.
Yeah, and I'm gonna keep pestering you about new stuff too. There will never be. We will try to keep the league from getting stagnant. That is a goal to make sure everything stays fresh. That's why stuff like the trades and loans exist. So there's organic ways to keep things fresh too.
Yep.
But with that, should we head into questions?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right. Tosh, you want to read them out?
But I'm pulling it up on my phone. So the first question is, from Lieutenant Rai. Would you, commentators, like me to bring back surveys to help with the commentating during matches? So, like surveys, basically get an idea of the league members' biases. Um, and to answer that question, like at least in my personal opinion, I mean you can. Uh, we recently, this season, I think we just started doing it, where we've been using the YouTube polls to get people's opinions on who they think will win and everything. Now, you can definitely try, I would say you could do it for the people that may not be able to, catch the streams and such. So we have something else to maybe go off of. But I don't think it's like strictly like necessary for it since we already have a method right now as well.
There is no harm. I'm sure the commentators would be fine having like another source of data to pull from. But as Tosh said, we do have the polls also going, so either way, it's up to you, man.
Yep. I'll just echo that. Like, I do see there being a benefit. Like, this could be a good way to engage people in the Discord, because we don't always have everybody show up during stream. We just have it open during the week, close it out on Friday, and send it to staff or commentator, and that would be a way to get the people who can't, to engage with the people who can't join us during stream. But again, I'll just echo what G and Tosh said. If you want to do it, go for it, but don't feel like you have to.
Yep. So we ready for the next question?
Yeah.
All right, the next one is from Tumnus. With the season, it looks like you were able to control when divisional matches occurred, giving more time for teams to plan their lineups. Did you guys ever think of having like a divisional week near the end of the season where all the matches are divisional, making one big event, kind of like wildcard weekend in the NFL? So, one of y'all want to leave that up?
This was a discussion during the whole divisional organization stuff. I think we just went against it. Was, like easier to manage and easier for teams to digest too.
Yeah, so just because I was the person who wrote the schedule generator for us, and I think we followed up on this in Discord a bit. Like the tool I wrote is set up to allow us to kind of use whatever divisional format we want, whether that is randomized or we have set weeks for divisions or for the league as a whole. One of the reasons it was set up that way was so that, because like when I wrote it, I didn't necessarily know what the coaches would prefer. And so I wrote it, I talked to the coaches and, offered saying, hey, do we want to do divisional weeks like has been done in the past? The old Naruto League did divisional weeks where I think it was like weeks 5, 10, and 15. Like you knew for a fact that, you would have a divisional. At the time, the coaches felt like having North Kai was on given weeks and East and West and South each had their own respective weeks. What was a better way to handle it? Whether that we keep to that in the future, like I don't know, but we'll probably keep it at least for another season or so, and then we can revisit it just as we have new people coming in and some of the old guard is standing down.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to like maybe 1 week, like how you were saying for the last week, or like at least maybe week 14 or something. That would be interesting. But I do kind of like how currently how we have the divisionals kind of spread out, so it's always something to look forward to. And I think that was one of the big driving factors that the coaches kind of pushed for, was instead of having just one, just have it spread out, so it's always something to look forward to.
Yeah, every week has a level of importance, so people can tune in on any given week and catch a match or two, actually usually two, that means a lot for these given teams.
Mm-hmm.
That has some serious stakes behind it. But yeah, that's the reason. I don't think that there's an issue in terms of actually doing that. I think it's easy. I could be wrong.
Yeah, technically it would be easy to do.
I think I was muted with us on this or OBS. I don't know. I'll just repeat the question real quick. Basically, it was basically having the first match and the last match of the divisional matches at the end of the week and at the start of the week. Sorry, I muted myself on OBS.
It's all good. We heard you. Yeah, like to G's point, it's technically feasible. It goes back to kind of the same thing with Tumnus. Like, I did approach the community and asked if there was anything, any ordering preference, and people just had no preference for it. Hey, if you guys want something like that, again, let us know. Put it in the suggestion survey, comment in YouTube, join the Discord, and let us know. If enough people want it, like this is easy enough to implement that we could definitely do it if there's enough interest.
Yeah, more people mention it, more likely it goes through.
I think I just had it will be fine. I think I would just I already don't like when my matches are match 8. Granted, I think I've only ever had one match, and it was this week 14, where we had match 8. I don't know. I don't like having my matches like at the end of the week. So I think that's like my only the suspense gets to me.
And it forces
And
you to wait
the
all
nervousness.
the way through the end of the. You know
Yes.
what, Thor? You know
So-
what? That's a good feeling. That's what we want.
I don't need that. I don't need that in my life right now. Anyways, nah. It's interesting and everything like that. I think that just for me it's just a personal bias where I don't like being the last match at least.
You're only convincing me to go along with Havoc's suggestion.
It's a good thing I'm a mod on this server.
Alright,
Alright. Next question comes from Lieutenant Rai. Again. To clarify is this concerning his conference idea that he had from a few weeks ago. So the way it will work will be by keeping the divisions the same, just putting putting 2 of them into one conference, so that it will be 2 conferences with 2 divisions in them. This way, when we enter playoffs, the bottom teams of the conference will be eliminated instead of the divisions separately. So would you guys would be open to inserting conferences into the league?
So I understand the idea of still keeping the divisions there, but they're cosmetic at that point, right? They don't do anything outside of, oh, my team had this much win rate, so they're in South instead of West, or they're in North instead of East, whatever. But it doesn't function. It doesn't have that functionality that it does right now, where your divisional matches matter in your division. Instead, if you have conferences like this and the playoffs are determined by the bottom people in the conference, who falls out of the playoffs is determined by the bottom people in the conference, then every match against your conference opponents will be functionally a divisional, or in this case, conference match. Every single one. That's half of the week, or half of the season. It changes the main season drastically. It makes it so teams can't really prioritize just 3 matches. They have to prioritize 7 instead, which is tough. Now, like you said, there's a benefit to, we have it a bit more fair in terms of the teams with the lower record will usually drop out of the playoffs Because even this season, I don't know what it's ended up like, but we're probably gonna get Sentai or Cinema not making it when they have a higher record than some other teams in North and I think West Kai. So that would happen less often, but then we're kind of making a massive change to how the main season goes, and it's a little much to just say, yeah, this is easy enough to implement. I don't really know if the teams would all 16 teams and their coaches and supporters would be in favor of having 7 matches a week be super important, vital to like determining tiebreakers and stuff like that. So it's a little rough. Something to consider, and I have thought about it sort of on my own time, and we'll look into it more. I think this is in the suggestions chat. Someone correct me if it's not. But if it's not in the suggestions chat, toss it in there, because if it's not in there, we may forget it.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of mechanisms that go to it, so I can't really give an answer outside of we'd have to look into it more, but there's a lot that it would change, a lot.
Yeah, like I definitely hear the concern about, trying to make sure that the worst teams get eliminated from the postseason, or the worst teams in the main season can get eliminated, not just the
Worst teams in the division.
Yeah, not just the worst teams in the division. Like, I fully get on board with that. And like, kind of like G, I've had my own thoughts about how to handle that, like with, either double elimination tournaments where, the winner, the top team gets certain perks, whereas the loser, the bottom 4 teams just have a negative against them. Like, but it just goes into there's a lot that goes into how to balance that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Was that everything from both of you?
Yep.
All right. So, moving on to the next question. Well, from Armraz, Ryan has gotten to him. Now this is just me putting on my tinfoil hat here. But do you believe Ryan's computer is cursed? To where most matches, he's running. Become stomps.
So first, I want to say this question was from a little while ago. That hasn't happened consistently since then. But no, I don't believe it. I just think the game is a lot of RNG. Deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, especially this season, I understand the question. Like, for me, it gets a little harder to feel the pain of that volatility at times, because like there are times where I'll just run the same 4v4 10 times in a row, and I'll see the first 3 be complete one-sided slaughters for the home team. The next 3 will be one-sided slaughters for the away team, and then the remaining 4 are just back and forths. So I mean, it's just hard when, like, yeah, the main league, like, sure, 4 of them were back and forth, or however many were close, but for the main league, you only get to see one of them, and sometimes it's just the slaughter one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question is also from Armraz. Thoughts on the season as a whole. Do you think it was unbalanced, volatile, funny, anything along those lines?
And we have a new member joining us for the questions. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Sean, also formerly known as Spoofy.
He will forever be known as Spoofy.
Yeah, Spoofy. All right, we're on Armraz's question. Thoughts on the season as a whole? Do you think it was unbalanced, volatile, funny, anything along those lines? My view on it is, yeah, there was a bit of volatility throughout the weeks in terms of how heavy the stomps were, but we've all run now, especially enough tests to notice that it's not the most unusual thing to see stomps, and then at the end of the day, I'm happy with it as long as it's fun enough, and there's a lot of tension that got built up because the stomps were rarely all from the same team constantly, or the same like 5 teams, as we have a rather contentious season at the end here. I guess you guys will already know what it came out to, but week 15 still has decisions being made, and still made or broke a team getting into the playoffs. So I'm happy about that. And the stomps, sure. I wish there was a little bit less of them, because close matches are a bit more fun for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there was a lot of weird stuff going on with false courage and like explosive waves and head breakers this season. I think there were like 4 or 5 times that. A B2. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, that has definitely happened a bit more this season. Yeah, I'm just gonna echo it. It feels like a strangely volatile season, but the way it ended up playing out, like, I think it kept any particular team from seeming too underpowered, because, like, one of the strongest teams on paper, the Bujins, is one of the teams struggling, and I do feel bad for them for that struggle.
So is Rez, who had an insane season last season.
Yeah, but well, Rez also had a lot of build issues that contributed to that as well.
True.
A couple of those losses could have easily been wins, if those build issues had been caught in time, and corrected.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, basically every team in North Kai is not where I thought they'd be.
Yeah.
And then you got a team like GT who keeps pulling the weird, we don't do anything for the first half of this season and then pop off for a second. I don't know why, but there they go again.
Okay. Yeah.
I definitely think it's unfortunate that we do like sometimes have these very volatile matches where it's a stomp, because that never feels good for the team on the short end of the stick. But it's also kind of, while it may seem like it's more prominent this season, it's just sometimes how the cookie crumbles, because it's just more so how sometimes the AI will not perform as well as you want it to, and that can result in these big gigantic stomps. It can also result from wanting to try new things, or just one character from one team performing way higher than what they usually do in a given week. So while it is unfortunate, and maybe sometimes can be fun, it's just what happens when you have a RNG-based league.
Yep.
I will say I haven't been able to follow every week as closely as previous seasons, just due to my own busyness, IRL. That being said, it seems every season has been impossible to predict for me. I have no real discernible... I can see no real discernible thing that's causing any volatility. I mean, Nappa's the number one week 14 right now. Maybe he holds it, maybe he doesn't. Nappa's the number one damaging character in the league. I don't know how the hell that's happening. All right. I don't see what changed, because he's on the same build he's had for years. So
Yeah.
I don't know why Zarbon was good this season.
Yeah.
All things confuse me. I'm confused, but in a good way. Next question.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read it since Tosh had to step out for a second. Next 2 questions are from Enemy Controller. The first one is, how do you guys feel about the new Pataras not really being used too much? And just to follow it up with the second question, what character do you think is missing out on trying Ultra Divine Water or Broken Glow?
I think that while it can seem kind of depressing that not all the new guitars are being used very frequently, I do want to just like point out how we've had over 10 seasons to work with all of the base guitars in the league, so it can feel very scary and hard to try using these new guitars because you don't have the same base information. It's not as comforting as, let's say, using KSA and Super Plus One for like an old build over Ultimate Plus One, and it's just gonna take time to get comfortable and really look into seeing the results and taking the risks to using these new Pataras.
Yeah, I'm sort of in agreement there with, first, the more seasons pass by, the more time people get to test these Pataras in the off season where there isn't really any stakes or potential losses from doing so, the more we may see it get used. I also think because of a lot of the new Pataras that were brought in are high cost Pataras, it makes it even harder to digest those. It takes up most of your build. You take something like UDW, right? Same with Broken Glow, it takes up most of your build. If a character is going to use those Pataras, a team needs to feel really confident in them. Which means they might not when Eternal Life is an option, something like that. That being said, I'm actually pleasantly surprised with the cheaper Ultimate Plus 2 being used so often. Now, it wasn't like as common as launcher support. I don't think we expected it to be, but it got more than enough use to be considered a viable Patara in my eyes, so I'm happy about that. I think cheaper Pataras in general are always going to be a little bit more commonly picked anyway. I'm not super concerned one way or another. It was one season. We'll see how the off season also approaches these Pataras, and
All right,
maybe a team or two find something that no one else did.
I'm pretty much in agreement with that. I put a lot of I put a lot of work into them, and so I'm happy to champion, and I'm always and you know the active supporters in the Discord will know I'm happy to suggest using the new Pataras. I think they add a bit of fun, and I think properly used they could make a very nice change to the meta. Like G said, I think the high cost can be daunting, especially for something like Ultra Divine Water, where you're essentially getting, where you're losing a bar of health. I think the benefits are worth it, of course, but, it's hard for that. It sometimes feels hard to justify those high costs when it seems like, again, in an RNG league, well, is the AI going to do what it should? And then, Tosh, did you have any thoughts on that?
What question are we on?
How do you feel about the new Pataras not seeing a lot of use?
Honestly, I feel like not getting much use. I don't know. I feel like it's just not a lot of people had time and everything. I think I came in when I think either Sean or someone else mentioned it, and I kind of echo that. Ultimate Plus One is the only one where, and as you can see, I've tried it. It's worked a few times in testing. It was amazing, but in the main league, he has not been nearly as happy. Well, not too crazy. So like for Kid Trunks, so it's like it's just more time for it.
Gotta hope that
I think it's really just all about like risk assessment. Like using Ultimate Plus One with my team, you would think that Cold, Supernova, Death Ballsy, we should love that Patara, but it's down to risk assessment that we've had so much time with, say, a Super Plus One KSA build than we have with an Ultimate Plus One KSA build, to where like Super Plus One feels a lot less risky for a similar reward. Because if we don't use our ultimates, we're still getting rewarded. Well, with Ultimate Plus One, it's a newer Patara, we have less time with it, and also it's more risky in a sense, because while it does more damage, and it does also cost more, it's not more as confirmed for us to get like value out of.
So it's also just very tailored of it only helps your ultimate, unlike Super Plus One or Super Plus Two. So
Yep.
Second question for Enemy. What character do you think is missing out on trying Ultra Divine Water or Broken Glow?
Frieza Soldier could have totally used it. Too bad he was removed before. Probably would have been the best character in the league if he had them.
To be fair, in the TOP last season, he ran it pretty well a few times.
Yeah,
I would say-
I'm guessing the truth.
I would say maybe I can see Frieza, Final Form Frieza using it because
Which one?
huh?
Which one?
I said Final Form Frieza.
No,
What do you
which
mean?
power up?
Oh, Broken Glow. Sorry. Because you got 1 bar Barrage Deathlings, then what is it? I might die this time. It's okay. That's kind of whatever, but it's still half cost. But then you have a 2 bar Nova Strike that goes through any beams and everything. So, yeah, nah. I kind of think Broken Glow and him could be really good. UDW, I don't know. Like, maybe I can see it like maybe on like Cooler Kid. I think they tried it on Kid Buu for Blue Gems because like he can be another good candidate for it. But I don't know. They just probably just haven't found the AI, or he hasn't consistently been doing it. And surprisingly, Nam did well with UDW, which I never thought I would say. But yeah, he did well with it the 1 week he had it. So
Yeah, I'm not great with these new Pataras, so I'll keep on Frieza Soldier.
Yeah, to what Tosh was saying about Broken Glow, and going back to a little bit with Enemy's first question, Broken Glow definitely, in theory, could work well with Frieza, given what Tosh said. It's just also a matter of, we are so comfortable with this build that it's very risky to go with a very new Patara build. And I was thinking about using Broken Glow or Ultra Divine Water in week 14 for Frieza, just because we were in a really good position of staying in playoffs, but we ended up trying something different with a different build that a supporter wanted to use. And I would definitely use Broken Glow or Ultra Divine Water on Final Form in week 15 if we didn't have to bench him, which is sad, but there's always in the season. No, and the playoffs.
You know what?
Yeah,
I
but
changed
yeah.
my mind. Give Broken Glow to Adult Gohan. 1 bar explosive done.
hey, at least he gets a attack in super -1, right?
Yeah, but just slap Super +2. He doesn't need a charge anyway.
Yeah.
You hear me, Kaiju? You know what to do for the playoffs. Nah, he's fine, by the way. Mal? Never mind. Next question.
Okay. Next question is from XMAT. Would you ever think of restructuring the All Stars event to span across 1 week instead of 2? Maybe moving the sweepers somewhere else, like pair it with the LVP or the tag team tournaments instead. It's just a 2 week break from the main league. Felt like too much, at least to him.
So, to answer why it's 2 weeks, it's not actually to fit in the sweepers. It's because, and I kind of agree with you on a personal front here. I do think a 1 week break would probably be an easier thing to digest and probably make it a little bit more fun, but the All-Star Battle itself takes 2 weeks to prepare. Right? There's all the voting, there's the decision making. To first we grab who all the nominees are, then we vote. We have the coaches and everyone else vote to determine who the top 10 are who make it and become all stars. And then there's a draft, and that draft is the main part that makes us need that extra week. Because it takes a couple days for that draft to get done between Team Guru and Team Kami. And once that's done, then those teams can actually start building and coming up with their lineups. And if we try to do it all in 1 week before all 1 week leading up to the All-Star battle, they may only have 1 or 2 days to come up with their builds, their lineups, and when it's like a new mishmash of characters, that may be a little bit rough. I'll say right now, it's something we've heard before. It's something I'm thinking on, but yeah, that's the roadblock. We can't really tone it down to 1 week unless we find a way around that, modify the All-Star battle in some way, and I don't have a solution for you right now. Yeah.
All we can say is it was talked about and being thought about potentially, but yeah. Spooky, Mel, anything y'all want to add? Maybe ideas or whatever?
She said it all for me.
Just to add on to like what Tosh is saying, that while we do hear to what Tosh and Jim was saying, we do hear the concern, we do see it, and we understand where you're coming from. It's not a very, I guess, like black and white thing of issue, let's just easily fix it. It's a matter of like actually somewhat changing the process in order to allow that to happen, and that can be difficult sometimes. But as Tosh said, we hear you, and we have discussed trying to find alternative ways to reduce that 2 weeks.
Yeah, and we're still
Will we be
discussing
able
it.
to have an answer by next year? Maybe not. Maybe we will. But we do hear you.
Okay. Next question is from number one Showdown Dunks. Mouthful to say. What do you guys think about all these squash matches recently? Do you enjoy them, or are they beginning to grate due to them happening often enough? I think we kind of covered this a little bit earlier. I mean, I don't think any team wants to be, destroyed at all. I feel like they're starting to become more scarce to an extent. Like later on in the season, like maybe 1, maybe 2 at most, instead of like I think early on in the season we may have like 3 or 4 in a week, possibly. I don't know, but they do get annoying, and it does not, trust me, it does not help the team that either gets destroyed like that at all. So I don't know. Sometimes I enjoy it when my team does it, but I can also feel it on the other side.
So as a person who's not on a team, doesn't participate actively in that capacity, I'm not really annoyed by them. I think it's just the nature of what's going on. I'm not even... there might be a slight increase from how often it happened in previous seasons. I think what really made it visible is that a lot happened in a contained like 2 to 3 weeks at one point, and that just sort of amplified them and made them very, very visible. I do still think there probably was a slight increase from the norm, but I also don't think they're too bad. I think it's fun to see characters who don't usually do that great have pop-off weeks occasionally. I thought it was fun to see Nam in his old like season 5 form for that 1 week. It's fun to see, personally, since I used to coach, saying it's fun to see Nappa pop off every once in a while.
He almost had an elite this. He almost had an elite this week.
In week 14.
Yeah, he had 96k basically.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think you can say it's every once in a while he's been popping off this season. It's like this is his pop-off season.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. He is like averaging 60k, but when I mean pop off, I mean like getting 2 characters down on his own, not just hitting a 60. Which, yeah, he's done it a fair amount of times, and it's been fun to see when I've been able to catch it. But beyond that, not really grading to me. I think we'll probably see things change up a little with the playoffs anyway. So 5 bans tend to feel less like stomps.
Yeah.
Okay. Spoopy. Or Mal? Anything else?
Um, I I guess I do agree with GM to where, while it can be unfortunate for the team on the shorter end of it, it is fun to see like some characters who you might not expect to like pop off to then pop off. Like going into this season, I did not expect Zarbon to be as good as he was, but in the like first half of the season, he was popping left, right, and center. And while yes, I do feel a little bad for the other team who may not have performed as well as they would have liked. On a personal level, I did enjoy it more than I should have.
I think there was more than a few people also happy to see the Dell having an all-star season. So that was, I don't know if she had like weeks where she almost went elite, but she definitely outperformed her usual.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just glad to see Goten in top form this season. That's all I got to say. Alright, if that's all. Next question is from Minecraft Steve. Which team have surprised you the most in terms of their performances, good or bad, and which characters have gone under the radar this season?
Oh, Nappa's totally gone on their radar. No one's even mentioning him. He's not anywhere. No. I think hybrids are obviously the clear choice for surprising, mainly because I don't expect Nam to be such a valuable asset to them. So kudos to them. I know androids currently in week 14. I don't know what they are in week 15. Are tied in record with hybrids, but to be honest, I kind of expect androids to have good seasons like this. I think this is their norm. As for weak seasons, all of North Kai, I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry, guys. Don't be a North Kai. That's the recommendation I have to all teams. That Kai is cursed.
The North Kai curse strikes again. Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, we haven't mentioned it. I'm so happy to see Sentai like 7-7 right now. I will feel really bad if they get knocked out next week, during week 15, because again we're recording this before week 15. But like I'm glad to see like Sentai having on the whole a very good season for them, and I hope that is just a sign of things to come, with them now having Jiren and access to some of these new things, that can help them pop off a bit better.
Yeah, I also want to say I feel bad for South Kai because I don't want to see any of those teams not make the playoffs. Again, week 15's already happened for you guys, but I don't know what's happened. I like Kaiju and androids, and I thought Cinema and Sentai would cause a lot of ruckus in the playoffs, so seeing either of those two teams get knocked down, it hurts me.
It does.
Honestly, that whole Kai is just at that point where people are either going to miss it twice or 3 times. I think Sentai and Kaiju made it.
Kaiju or Cinema and Sentai Squad will have both.
Actually, all 3 teams made it at least once, except for Sentai. Sentai's the only one that never made it. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think this is Cinema's best lineup roster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad for both of those teams. Let's just put it that way.
It's nice to see Cinema doing like pretty well for themselves this year after being a really new team and then having such a seemingly strong base roster that just doesn't work all at the same time with Basha, Janemba, Gogeta, Zengaya surprisingly, and I don't remember who their 5th member is. I think it's Garlic Jr. if you ignore the loan. So it's really nice to see that they are performing at such a higher level than they have before. And really good job with Zengaya. I did not think she would be that good. Their coach would always like talk Zengaya up, but in my head I'd be like, I don't know about all that. But I got proven wrong because Zengaya beat my team so badly, and it was really embarrassing for me. So good job, y'all. Nice.
Next question.
Yeah. Next question is from Beauregard. How often do y'all check this suggestion survey, and or would we get some comments on if they have been looked at or not?
So the suggestion survey
oh,
is
and
looked
sorry.
at.
Sorry, I think I can just do that because he has 2 questions in the one post. So yeah, go ahead.
The suggestion survey is looked at functionally every month. Sometimes it's every other month, but it's basically whenever staff has our meetings, which is normally planned for every month.
Yep.
On top of that, there is in the suggestions survey spreadsheet a tab, a sheet with our comments to each suggestion that comes up. When we do those meetings, we fill it in there. Mainly Mal handles that. So if you want to see what we've said about those, you can find it in there.
Yep, and I do my best that after every time we talk about them, I try to make sure I say somewhere, either in general or announcements or the public staff chat, that basically to the effect of, hey, go check the suggestion survey. We posted some, responses to your questions. I don't always remember to do it, but I try to do it when I remember. But there is a tab on the suggestion survey that should be available to everybody. So if you try to access it and you can't, let me know and I will try to get it fixed. But yeah, like G said, it's generally at least once a month. I generally look at it maybe once a week before, in the week leading up to a meeting, just so I can kind of get my head around it. Like this past meeting, we didn't really get to it because people had to, head out early. And so by the time we got to the suggestions, we didn't have enough staff members available to actually make a decision on anything. So, we're aware of them, but we have not really discussed some of the most recent suggestions.
Yeah, I think we're about, right now, only 5 suggestions have not been answered. Everything else has a comment or a response written in.
And also, I do just want to add, maybe I missed this being pointed out, but for some questions being asked, even if we do have an answer for it, some things we just don't feel comfortable answering midway through the season, especially if it's a big thing. Some stuff will just inevitably be answered maybe at the end of the main season or at the end of the postseason, because that's just where we feel it's most appropriate to release that type of information. So while it may suck sometimes, you just have to push through and wait a little.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll see for very large scale suggestions, we'll give a response of this is interesting and we'll look into it in the off season, because there's really just not enough time for us to focus in on it during the main season. So that's just kind of how it goes for some of these, and we'll usually, if those lead to actual changes or to a change in decision, you'll obviously see those being announced.
All right.
Yep.
And his second question is, what suggestions do you like, but maybe can't see getting implemented, either due to time or resources? And I'm going to be straight up, I don't remember most of the
I don't
suggestions.
remember anything specific either. Yeah, there's a lot. That's part of the reason why we have the suggestion survey spreadsheet, so we don't have to remember. We can just look at it.
Yep.
But anything that helps expand options and lets the league become more less stagnant, give teams more options, give viewers more unique and fun things to see, I'm usually in favor of in one way or another. Obviously, there's limitations to a lot of that stuff depending on what the exact suggestion is. If a suggestion is mod in all the super characters, I'd love to do that. We have restrictions on how many characters we can mod in because we can only replace right now.
Yep.
There's also the time constraint on all the work that would take.
Yeah,
Suggestions. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Spoofy.
Suggestions I actually tend to like are like I guess similar to ones that XMAT had brought up earlier about maybe being more concise with our time, like reducing like the All-Star weeks, reducing the playoff time frame. I personally do like those suggestions as I am an impatient person and I like having stuff more in a limited, more concise time period. But also like with playoffs, for example, those 2 weeks per round are objectively really reasonable and really crucial for team planning. So while maybe I would like it if maybe we didn't spend as much time, it's a very complicated issue in trying to tackle and trying to be both competitive and conscious of the time being taken up.
Yeah, to actually add on to that, anything that sort of like polishes or tries to improve upon current systems, current rulings, is always nice, both on the front of if there is actually a really well thought out suggestion that gives us like a basis to work off of or inspires us to better polish one of our systems. That's awesome. That means we get to make the current league better. But even if it doesn't, like with the All-Star thing, there is a restriction that we have that we brought up for why it's now currently as a 2-week thing. It's still good to hear all you guys, all of your thoughts on, hey, I don't really like the 2-week format. I want to get back into the main season. It's an unofficial way of us sort of getting your input on what you like and what you don't and what direction you want the league to move in. The more of that type of suggestion we get, or the more that sort of thing is brought up, the more we know, yeah, this is something that the community wants or the community doesn't want, and that's always beneficial to us too. It means we prioritize it more.
Yep. Like for myself, I kind of the one I would love to see kind of falls into the same thing, and that's the B2 being able to swap out B2s. I would love to do it for so many reasons, but it's just a lot of work, both from balance perspective and from modding. Like, it's really just me and Vive, and Vive, we tend to put Vive on some of the higher priority stuff, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to change out a B2. You know, maybe in the future at some point it will be, but for right now, you know, I think it'd be so fun to see, like, Giro not have that stupid I-beam. Like, give him a rush, like Android 19, or anything else, even if it's just for a season or two. I would love to see that. But it's just, realistically, it comes down to, you know, because I have messed around with characters trying to do the B2 thing, and weird stuff can happen at times, and it's not clear yet why, just because, like, there's parameters behind the scenes that we don't necessarily know what they do, but those parameters matter. And, like, without going into too much detail, like, there have been several times I have tried to mod moves, and for some reason, unbeknownst to me, unbeknownst to Vive, you know, we couldn't figure it out. It would, for whatever reason, just loop the animation like 3 or 4 times. And it's like, well, shit, what do you do with that when you can't figure out why? And the time spent on that is time I could have been spending on other stuff that we know how to do for the league, and we know we can get productive results. You know, that being said, I'm also the person who's probably going to be doing a lot of the research into code injection for some of the stuff we would like to do. So, I mean, it's just, I can only, you know, we can only do so much.
Okay. Is that all? Any final thoughts?
That's it.
Okay. Next question is from Ryan, and his question is: now that playoff positions have been somewhat determined, what are your predictions for playoffs and going into the bowl?
Hybrids and androids are gonna go far.
Please, Rugrats going back to the bowl. We're repeating. We're going to make it back to the bowl, and we're going to win it this time. No, we're going to make it to the bowl, and then we're going to go against either Cold or I'd rather actually go against either Cold or someone else. That's what we're winning it all.
Rugrats, Androids, and Muscle can get out of my way. I do not want to see any of you anywhere near the playoffs. I've seen enough of you. And on Rugrats, it's not just because Rugrats have been to the bowl. I just don't want Tosh to be to the bowl, truly and honestly.
We have a love-hate relationship, and it's mostly hate. So I don't know why.
I don't want to see Rugrats succeed. Please. Man, Androids and Muscle, y'all have had your time to shine. Leave us alone. Hybrids, I'll give you a pass. You had a rough season last year. I will give you a pass. But I'd really like to see Cinema or Sentai make it pretty far in, just because they're either a new team and or they've just been struggling a lot in the recent seasons.
I can kind of go for them as well.
In terms of what I want to see, honestly, as much as I think Androids are probably the best team in South Kai, any other team outside of them, I'm rooting for in South Kai. And then I want either Earth Defenders in North Kai, Cold Kingdom in East, and let's go Derp. They don't have the strongest shot, but let's go Derp.
So I'm just gonna say like who I most want to see in the finals from each division. North Kai, Earth Defenders, just because they have never made it to the bowl. East Kai, GT, West Kai, Derp, and South Kai. Honestly, any of them, if I had to, like, any of them would be great. I think my number one pick would probably be Cinema or Sentai, just because they have not really had good postseason runs yet in the new era of the league.
Yeah, we still don't know which one. Everyone else watching this knows, but we don't know which one made it in and which one didn't.
Like I would love to see Sentai. Like they got Jiren. I would love to see him, just brute force his way to the bowl. That being said, Androids are still near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, screw 'em. As much as I love Sentai, I kind of almost want to see Cinema in more because I think they have a stronger shot.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, as of right now, I do agree they're the stronger team. But there's also just like Sentai still feels like Sentai and Derp still just feel like the chronic underdogs to me, and I just want to see them do well.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. Next question. It's from Arm Raws again. What have been your favorite moments this season? Not from a team you support. Funny moments, cool moments, absolute jank. Anything goes as long as it isn't from your team.
False Courage is a whack D1 that I don't know what the hell it decided to do this season, but it tried to fight someone in doing an explosive way, a super explosive way. Apparently you're invincible when you're actively using that B2. I don't know that. Tanked several B2s, including Headbreakers. I didn't realize how those interactions are going to work. So that was interesting. Beyond that, because of the Burger event, we also discovered that health pushbacks almost always happen if you're in max power mode and teleport behind someone or get behind someone. They will almost always health pushback you back.
Yep.
So, it's less random than we thought.
My favorite moments would probably just be the underdog story that has been GT struggling at the start and then rising back to make it to playoffs over Namek. I do stats, so I do stats, and I've done stats for GT for most of the season, and I'll usually message their coach, Zal, them whenever I'm done. And so because of that, I feel like I've just been vicariously living the journey with them. So GT, get behind me. I'm ride or die for you. And if I do lose, I hope it's to you and not Royals, because I don't want Buzz to have the dignity of beating me again.
At this point, I think someone just needs to remind the characters on GT that the preseason only lasts for 4 weeks. Because, like, after week 5 is when that team wakes up and won't lose for the most part. Like, they just stop losing after week 5, and they just become a new team. And it is absolutely fascinating to watch.
Also, Grandpa Gohan popping off.
That's what I was
dear
going to
God.
say. Grandpa Gohan, that was probably one of my favorite moments versus PyCon. After Image
Yep.
Strike, dodging everything and then just counting him perfectly.
So, like, what's even... I really want someone to go back and, like, whenever Grandpa Gohan woke up and see what his average is after that point. Because right now, he is just not including the week 14 stats, I don't think. Let me double check.
I have not done week 14 stats for GT yet.
Okay. But, like, as of right now, he's not a 40k character, which, after he woke up, I don't believe that's the case. I think he's closer to, like, 50. But yeah, like, GT has been a favorite moment to watch. I think my other favorite is the fact that Turles, not once, but twice this season, had someone shoot a B2 through the Fruit Loop.
Well, to be fair, one of them, they didn't shoot a B2. They went through. One of them went through it.
Yeah.
Nova.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Circus act with him.
Yep. Although another good one is just a lot of the moments I like the best, like including the false courages. Herc's false courage through the explosive weight or through the burst attack. That was beautiful. That was a fantastic short.
Herc does that more often than he really should. Just like false couraging straight through a B2. No,
Anyway,
move on.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. Last question is from Macho. Is there any concern for the power balance of teams that take new characters or and FAs for teams with more losses, leading to North Kai having the least wins by far, or is this a welcome idea that is going to be built upon?
So I'm not 100% sure what Macho is getting at with the new characters part. But I mean, everything else, this is just kind of how the FA system has always worked, where the weaker team, the intention of FA is free agents is to be that balancing factor, so that weaker teams have something to fall back on and help boost them up, whereas the stronger teams are not going to have that. Now, the flip side is that does lead to situations like this where, I'm not going to lie, I'm looking at current North Kai going into South Kai next season and just looking at how strong some of these teams can be. I'm not going to lie, I have an upset stomach over that, because just the thought of adult Gohan on Bujins or RW or Earth Defenders or Muscle, that's scary to me. But that's the way the system's meant to work, and even if it's for a season, I mean, even though it's just for a season, it's still scary.
I do wanna kind of somewhat add on, and I feel like Macho is I think his question is kind of getting at strong but teams that did bad for a season who end up in South Kai or West Kai getting a strong FA or a strong new character, and then getting to North Kai only to go back to South Kai. I think that's what he's getting at. And while I can see the logic in that, I do want to point out how, for this season's North Kai, Muscle, Earth Defenders, and Bujins, they all made it to North Kai from last season without using their FA. Muscle had Chi-Chi, never used her. Earth Defenders had Grandpa Gohan, never used him. Bujins had a pool, enough said. RW is the only character team from 2021 that had a really strong FA help them get to North Kai. So while I understand the concern of like teams doing back first season and getting strong FAs to get to North Kai, I can see the concern. I just don't think it really plays out like that often. Like, and you may like look to RW and Android. They both had Happy on first season in South Kai, and now they're making it to North Kai. With Androids, I do want to point out that they also made it to North Kai from 2020 without using any FA. And if you look at the stats for this season, Tapion, their FA, who also helped RW, is only averaging around 33k. And that just goes to show that Androids, to make it to North Kai this season, they didn't need a strong FA. They needed an FA that could, at the bare minimum, that could carry the bare minimum, being around 30 and 33k.
Yeah.
So
Cold
I do
Kingdom's
see
also-
Matcha's concern.
Yeah. Cold Kingdom's
Just-
also making North Kai with added Sony being in like 2 weeks, and he's a bottom tier FA. And there's another perspective to look at this from. Now, it's one season, right? Last season this wasn't an issue. This season you can sort of see the FAs have an impact, but it's not like one-to-one. If this kind of trend continues for multiple seasons, where the North Kai teams with no good FAs end up being the weakest teams, and the South Kai teams with the best FAs end up being the best teams, if that continues on, then what we might be seeing, and I don't think this is actually going to happen, but what we might be seeing is that the teams are very balanced at that point, and the FAs are what's swinging things.
Yeah.
But they're roughly in the same strength without their FAs. I don't actually think that's the case. I think there's still too much variety between teams to really say they're all roughly the same strength. I think there are some teams that are a little bit stronger than others and a tier above others. But if a couple seasons down the line we see that, and that ends up being the trend, then we can really look at the FA system more carefully and see, do we need it to be a balancing system or not? At the moment, I think it's fine.
Okay.
And there'll be other stuff we'll look at as well, by the way. Not just the... Again, 15 weeks isn't a lot. There's not a ton of data. Just keep that in mind. I gotta reiterate that every chance I can.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, like the main season at most is an indicator of, say, hey, go test me. Anytime we make a change, there's usually at least 50 to 100 tests behind that to make staff feel comfortable with making that change, and that's on the low side. Like just for the Patara cost changes that have come out, like there were probably 200 tests alone on those, with some of the more impactful, the ones we thought might be more impactful. And as I said, I'm still testing. There's still more to come. So there's a lot more than just one season's worth of data that goes into making any change.
Yep.
All right. And with that, that's all the questions.
Wonderful. Everybody stuck around all the way to the end. Thank you. I know these can be kind of long, but we really do appreciate anybody asking questions. If you have questions that you didn't get answered in this Dragon Cast and you want to get answered in the next, you can leave a comment down here. We occasionally open up community posts asking for Dragon Cast questions. We always answer Dragon Cast questions in the Discords. Join our Discord. There should be a link down below for you to do that. And if you can, and if you're not, subscribe to the channel. Give us a like. Let us know that you enjoy this sort of stuff and that you're here for more. Oh, we got Twitter and TikTok if you want to see some
Yeah,
funny shit.
follow us on our socials. Yes, Twitter and TikTok. So,
With that, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
bye.
Later.
Bye.